Hey gang, we are just going to put the finishing touches on the RPG side of things here in today's lesson. So let's go ahead and continue that. One thing I forgot last time, right at the end, I'm sure you probably figured it out, but we needed to save our separate scene. So I called mine RPG. You can call yours whatever you want, but make sure you save that scene after you have opened it up here and worked on it some. You save it, you give it a name, it pops up here in your assets folder. We can just drag that into the scenes folder like we did with our other scene before. Sorry about that. I think I was a little extra tired last time or something, but that's okay. Um, one other thing that we need to do is add a way to get to this from our main menu because we didn't add that other button. So let's double click your main menu scene and then we can kind of expand this and see our buttons. We can just add a new one here. So we'll just sort of move this up a little bit, make some room for an extra button here. Doesn't have to be super fancy, but we'll go game object, UI, and then button. Sort of center that here like this, kind of make it as organized as we can. Now, if you want to make it perfect, you actually can look at how far apart these are by checking the rectangular transform here and the position in Y and make sure they're all exactly the same amount apart. That's an option for you. We're just trying to do this as quickly as possible, so I'm not going to bother with that. Remember that you have to change the actual text, which is a child of that button that we just made. So we'll call that RPG. I'm not going to put game because that would be redundant. That's what the G stands for. And then we want to add an on-click behavior for what's going to happen when it's clicked. Remember that we need to add that to the code first. So this is going to be very similar to what we have in the other one. So that is in our game manager script. Yes. Okay. So we'll just make another one here. Method to load the RPG. And this is going to look much like the other one. Make sure it's public so that we can see it in Unity. And then this name that we use here needs to match what the name of the scene is, otherwise it won't work. Okay, so load scene RPG, and then we can rig up that button to behave that way. So we're going to add the object we want is the GM, and the behavior that we want is load RPG. And there we are. And now it should work. Always make sure and test what you have here. That animate one. It's always fun. But anyway, the RPG is what we're checking. We load that and... What? Oh, hold on. Couldn't be loaded because it hasn't been added to the build settings. Okay, so if you're running into that problem, that's exactly what it says. We need to change the build settings before we can load it. So File, Build Settings. This is, we have the main scene loaded, but we don't have the other two loaded. So we want to add the... Can we just drag it from here? I forget. Maybe not. Yes, we can. Okay, that's what we want. All right, now we can hit play, and it should load just fine. All right, and there we are. And we've got our sort of grid-based guy there, which kind of works. It doesn't go up to the top row. Not our best work, but that's okay. Hopefully yours came out a little better. You picked something that was a little more square. You can see that I have some problems here with mine, but we'll just leave it as is. Okay, so now we can go on in modifying our RPG. So we'll save that, and now we have a way to actually get to it. We'll zoom in on this and make this happen here. Okay, so one of the things that we want to add here is sort of a text box, and that's that image that we added last time, and we want to add that as an image on the screen. So we have a few different options here. We can add it as a sprite and then have a text element appear sort of over it, or we can add it as an image at the UI level, and we can have a text object appear at the same size there. I'm going to go with the latter. I want to treat this like an image because we've already done sprites, and it's pretty easy to have a sprite appear on the screen. So let's add a UI element, game object, UI, and we'll add an image this time. And this time it's out here on our off of our screen for some reason, which is pretty funny. And we'll just sort of add that there. And then the image, we actually want it to be the text box image. Source image is the text box. Okay, and you can see this in game view exactly where it will appear. We may want to adjust that here a little bit, but that's not too bad actually. Okay, and we'll call that text box. Right. Anything we add in here is a subclass of the game object class, so we can do stuff like set active or active in our code, which we'll get to in just a bit. Right? That's just about centered as well as we can right now. Okay, cool. And then we want to add text to appear on top of that. We'll call it text there, and we can actually see it show up down there. We'll pop it there. At the UI level, this isn't true for everything, but basically in the canvas hierarchy here, the way that it's rendered is top to bottom. So the stuff here appears in the back and the stuff here appears at the front. So if I switched these, I believe, yeah, it would sort of disappear there. So I'm going to undo that because I do want it to appear on top. All right, let's make our text white. The color over here. Let's certainly make it bigger. We want to do overflow in the vertical overflow. We're going to need to make sure to manually go to the next line on the horizontal side. So we'll do a horizontal wrap and a vertical overflow. Then we can make it a little bigger here. The font size like so. That's probably just about right. Maybe we can move it a little bit to the left, right around the curve there. Okay, maybe a little bit up. Not too bad. Okay. This is where text to the player goes. Clearly I didn't make that box big enough. Our width needs to for sure be bigger. Maybe we can see this in scene view a little better. There we go. Okay, let's do this. End it right about there. And because complete sentences are important, boop. That's just placeholder text. If that shows up in the scene itself, it means we definitely did something wrong. So we'll call this game text. And then one thing to make our lives easier, let's make an empty game object that is a parent of both of these, because then we can just set that as active or inactive. We can make them both disappear. Okay, that will actually make things easier for us. So we'll go create empty here. Oops. And I think I actually want to call this text box image. And then I'll call this the text box because that represents the text and the box itself. And we can make those both children of this thing. And now, if I set this to inactive, then they'll both disappear at the same time. Boop, boop, boop. Little checkbox here so you can see what that looks like. All right? Okay, now we can go over to our code. It's the grid move code, this one. Right. We have a couple of placeholder things here, but we don't have anything in the other spots. So let's add the UI library so we can actually see this stuff using UnityEngine.ui here. And we're going to want to, here's kind of our placeholder for this thing, print the current message if there is one. So instead of printing it to standard output, which we did, okay, we're not going to use that anymore. And our else will be here. Glad we put that in last time. Okay, so if it's not equal to null, meaning if there's something there, we're going to want a reference to the text box object. So let's do public game object text box, and we should set that up in Unity. We also need reference to our text, so public text, and we can just call it message. That's a good one. All right, so save that. Let's go drag in those references, which is in our code here. So you got the empty boxes. The text box itself is this one, and the message is this one. So this is our empty game object that we made as a parent to those things. It's not the image itself, it's the text box, the whole thing. Okay? And then the message will be the text object. So what we want to do is, if it's not null, then we want to set that to active. So set the text box to active and print the message. So we'll say text box dot active equals true. Is that right? Set active, that's what we want. Okay. That's, you can do that, but it's obsolete, so we'll not do that. Set active, true, there we go. And then to print the message, we'll say message.text. Remember that from last time, when you're working with a text element, it's not a string, but it contains a string, and that's your text. So message.text is messages at xy, wherever we are. And then otherwise, we want to clear it, so we'll say if there's nothing there, we'll say textbox.setActive false, and clear the text. So maybe we don't actually need to do that since we're going to clear the whole thing. I think that'll also clear the text. So let me leave that there for now. We'll see how it goes. All right. We've got a couple of secret messages in here somewhere. Oh, there's one. Look at that. Nothing interesting here. And the text clears with it because the parent gets set to inactive, so we actually didn't need to change that. Nothing interesting there. And where's the secret? See, I can't even find it now. That's funny. It's like 6-4, right? Where are you, secret message? All right, this is getting sad. It's very secret. I hid it very well. Oh. That was not my finest moment, not gonna lie. There's a secret location. Okay, and that works nicely, right? Now, one thing that we might want to do is have it sort of appear like not all at once like that. With that, I think this is probably a good time to introduce a coroutine. A coroutine is something that sort of happens with different timing, okay? So let's sort of leave those ones. I think those are nice. Now we can put in as many messages as we wanted anywhere on the screen, and we can make stuff happen. But yeah, I don't think that we necessarily have to use a coroutine there, but a timer might be appropriate. Right, let's save that much. Let's go over here. And what I think maybe we can do is use a timer here. And that seems maybe more fitting for a simple coroutine. Okay, so let's say int timer. And we'll give the player, let's say, 15 seconds to do what they need to do and find the secret location. All right. So, and we'll say bool found equals false to begin with. Whether they've found the secret. It was hard enough for me. It took me that long. So, we'll give them 10 seconds. Okay. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to write a coroutine here. Coroutine. I didn't have any of those in my other thing, did I? No, did not. Okay. So a coroutine to run the timer. Alright. So a coroutine is just a method that has a special return statement or a yield return statement that deals with timing. So you can use a coroutine to wait for something to happen before running the rest of it. You can use a coroutine to wait until something happens. You can use a coroutine to wait a certain amount of time. We're going to do that one, which is quite useful, actually. That's how you can like have something happen on a delay or have something only happen under certain conditions, but the rest of your game still runs, okay? It's a lot more useful than putting an if statement in your normal code, your normal program flow. So our coroutine is going to be of type I enumerator. That's the coroutine that we have. So that's our type. Our name of it is timer, I suppose. Doesn't need an argument. And you'll notice it gives you an error right away. That's because we haven't returned an I enumerator. The way that we do that is with a yield return statement. So we'll say if found equals false. Actually, better code is if not found. There you go, exclamation point. If we haven't found the secret location yet, then we will say, so we'll wait 1 second and we will tick the timer. So the wait 1 second is this. It is yield, return new, wait for seconds, and it'll be 1. That's to wait 1 second. Okay? Very useful piece of code to know in your coroutines. And then we'll go timer minus minus to tick it down. Okay, so that timer only runs if it's not found, and I guess if we have time left because we don't want to go negative. So we'll say timer is greater than 0. There we go. If we haven't found the secret location yet, and there's time on the clock. Okay, that's good. We'll have to go make a clock, but that's fine. Okay. And that's all the timer needs to do. It only does anything if this goes. We do want that to sort of happen forever, though. We want it to happen constantly. So we want to loop this infinitely on this sort of sidetrack here. So while true is your quickest infinite loop. You have to be really careful about putting infinite loops here or anywhere without these coroutine things, without these timing things in between, because if you have something loop infinitely and it's running an update, for instance, that is going to make your program hang and crash your whole thing, and you could lose a lot of progress. So be very careful about using this bit of code here for an infinite loop. But here we have a 1 second delay built into it, and we're not doing anything else, so we don't have anything to worry about here. And this is going to stop happening entirely if this condition isn't met. So if one of these things becomes false, then we don't have to worry about it. So that's going to auto terminate once the timer gets to 0. All right, so that's a pretty simple coroutine, but it's going to be pretty effective for what we have here. What we want to do here is make a timer text. So we'll add timer. We have to go make that in our code here. Let's say a new text object. That hopefully shows up right there for us. Just put it there. Time. This might be a helpful place to put another text box, actually. UI image. Pop that right above that. That's tough to do, actually. Okay. Timer. Text. Doesn't really matter what you call these things, but it's a good idea to be consistent as well as you can, just for organizational purposes. Okay, so this one is going to be that image again, and it's nice and it's nicely sized for us, actually. That's convenient. All right, we'll pop that here. We want to make our text a little whiter. We can resize that thing however we need. That's fine. Nice thing about these sort of blocky images is they will be useful on most sizes. So we'll make that a little redder to give it a sense of urgency. We'll make it go overflow vertically and make it a little bigger. And we'll give it a better font than that for this one. Where are our fonts hanging out? Right. Oh, well, which was the one that we're allowed to use? Oh no. I forgot that one of these doesn't have numbers. Numbers are going to be pretty important here. All right, 50-50 shot. It's been a while since I looked at this. No, I feel like that's not right, is it? Okay. Here's hoping. Let's find out. Okay, it has numbers. Sure, whatever. And we actually can sort of space that a little bit. We can actually just center this whole thing. And then shrink it down so that it actually appears centered the way we need it. Okay. That's better. Okay, that's nicely centered for us. So we've got this sort of time thing. Let's go back over to our code here. For timer. What did I do? Oh. Timer text is what I want to call this. Probably should have called the message text, but that's fine. Okay, so timer's here. Let's say at start we want to start the coroutine. It's going to infinitely run itself, so start the timer coroutine. We don't call it like a normal method. We call it using the start coroutine method. That's the only other difference here. Start coroutine timer. So we start that when the thing starts. It's going to wait a second and then start taking itself down. We want to make sure in update that we update that timer text. We want to set that in start. So timer text dot text equals, and it's going to be time and then a \n to go to the next line, and then the actual time. How much time is left? Okay, so we save that stuff. We want to update that. We want to actually copy that line, I think. Use it again down here. We'll just keep that updated all the time. That'll look nice for us. Okay. And then let's say if they got to 4 and 6, all right, we want to, you found the secret location, and then we want to log that they got there. So we'll say if they find the secret location, let them know. So if not found, so if they haven't already found it, and x equals, what's that secret location? I just can't hold this information in my head. 4 and 6. X is 4, y is 6. Y equals 6. So we're going to say messages at 4 and 6 equals, you found the secret location. It took you, and however many seconds was the actual time. I guess a better way to do this. You found the secret location with, there we go. And then the timer when we find it. Seconds left. There we go. And we only want to do this if it's in time, right? So, and timer is greater than 0. Okay, and then and we'll set found to true in that case. If they don't find it, say so. If x equals 4 and y equals 4 and y equals 6 and timer equals 0. Because the only way the timer's getting to 0 is if they didn't find it in time, because we're going to stop it from ticking once they found it. Right? So we'll say messages at 4 and 6 is this is a secret location, but you didn't find it in time. Sad. Whatever. All right, save that. Let's take a look. I did kind of a lot there without testing it, but yeah, and our timer didn't go, did it? No reference except, oh, didn't set up the timer text. See, this is why you have to do a little bit at a time. So learn from my errors here. Timer text needs to be referenced. Anything else? All right. It's ticking, and suddenly I feel a sense of urgency. It seems like it would be fun to, uh-oh. Aha! I did it. I stopped the timer. Wait, that's not letting me move. I don't love that. Oh, no, I broke it. Oh, I infinitely hung. I hope you didn't do that. Why did I infinitely hang? I infinitely hung because... Oh, yeah, that's bad. It's broken. I think it's going to crash eventually. But I infinitely hung because it's doing a wait for 1 second. If not found and timer equals true. So it's while true, nothing. See, this is what I'm talking about. This loop infinitely is dangerous stuff. So I wonder if it's just better... I could do while timer is greater than 0. That's probably a better way here. That while true, just stay away from it. It's bad news. That's going to loop infinitely too, though. That worries me. If we can just change this if to a while. I'm worried I'm not going to be able to get back into it. I hope you didn't do what I did. This seems like a really fitting way to end this project, actually. So we don't want to loop that infinitely. That's terrible. Infinite loops in Unity, they just don't mix, I'm telling you. While not found and timer is greater than 0. Wait for a second, tick the timer. Okay. That's probably the way to put your while loop, because eventually this is just not going to happen anymore. Yeah. Okay. All right, well, we don't get to really see this in action, but that's probably a good place to stop for now. I'm going to ban myself from... I'm going to have to redo some of that at the end there, but that's okay. Yeah, I can't hard stop this. Oh, man. But it happens, even on a good computer. I can't hard stop this. But we're at about our time anyway here, so put all that together, put in your build. If you get that much working, cool. Make sure you save first before you try and run it. Anytime you involve a while loop with in Unity, you're taking your project's life into its own hands. But this is fun. We've got probably one more lesson, and then we will see where we're at that point. So, bye.